Hi, welcome to Made to Heal with Angela Brown. So, I'm going to talk about a topic that has held me back for so long, and we are our own worst enemies. We really are. We fight against ourselves so many times. So, the topic I want to talk about today is fear. Fear has held me back so much, and I think it holds a lot of people back. So I'm going to share a couple stories where fear came in. We feel these fears, and there's just so many different ways that we react from feeling fear. One, cowardly. We don't want to move forward. Paralyzed. I have literally felt paralyzed from feeling fear. Um, and we get all sorts of doubts going on and a lot of different things going on when we have fear. Fear does not serve us at all. Fear is just keeps us from moving forward. Okay, the opposite of fear is faith, because I know in my heart of hearts, God wants us to have faith. The devil wants us to have fear. The devil loves it when we have fear because we can't move forward and we're stuck and there's nothing we can do on our own when we're in this fear. We just feel stuck. So I'm going to share a couple stories of where I have felt fear and where it does not serve me. Unless you are being chased by a wild, ferocious animal, there is no room for fear in our lives. We don't have time to to uh, be complacent. And I love a saying. I love a saying that I had learned recently, and I've never heard it. But so I don't know who came up with this saying, because I'm pretty sure the guy that said it didn't come up with it on his own. But God made trees and He made people, but He did not make chairs. I'm going to repeat that again. God made people and He made trees, but God did not make chairs. He didn't make it for us to sit around and do nothing and worry. Okay, fear and worry. I'm going to get into a whole different topic on worry. I used to be a huge worry wart, and that never served me either. But let's stick with fear. Fear is something that paralyzes us. It helps, it creates us to stay stuck, and we just aren't willing to move forward. So here's a story. I was 10 years old, sitting on one of my parents' couch. Now, mind you, back in the 80s, they had this black and white couch. It was mostly black, but it had like white little lines here and there on it. And we lived in an area that had cockroaches. Now, one of my biggest fear as a child, and maybe not as an adult, but I still don't like them, but spiders or anything creepy crawly, I couldn't handle it. So I had the biggest fear. And we tend to live in an area that had a lot of cockroaches. It didn't matter how clean you kept your house, there was lots of cockroaches. And these cockroaches, I'm not even kidding, they were like at least an inch and a half to 2 inches long. They were long, and they were fat. They had fat bodies, and they were black. And so I remember just sitting there minding my own business, reading a book, had my head in a book, just reading, and all of a sudden I felt a tickle on my leg, and I kind of glanced down, and I just thought it was a black thread. I just kind of brushed it to the side, and kept reading, and all of a sudden I, you know, look, keep reading, and I feel a tickle again, and I look down, and there is a huge cockroach on my leg. I was petrified. I got up and I ran to the basement, ran to the stairs of the basement, going upstairs, and I literally froze, and I just screamed. I couldn't move. I just screamed because I was so scared to death, because one of those things had touched my leg, and I was just, I couldn't take it. So I was literally paralyzed. I want to hear in the comments, have you ever been so scared you're paralyzed? Maybe nothing comes out when you try to shout. Maybe maybe you're just stuck and you literally cannot move forward. That was an example of me literally not being able to move forward. And that wasn't good because I wasn't able to move on, and it was stuck. Now, was that cockroach? I mean, granted, I was 10, and that was probably my biggest fear, arachnophobia. And although cockroaches aren't spiders, but they were little creepy crawly things, it was one of my fears, and I couldn't do it. So, but honestly, looking back, that cockroach wasn't going to do anything to harm me. They don't hurt you. they, they tickle you when they crawl on you, but it's just one of those fears that I had developed in my mind. And anyway, so that was a feeling of I can't move forward and I am paralyzed in this fear. Another, I mean, there's so many fears, like getting up, speaking in front of other people. They did studies of a lot of people would rather die than get up and speak publicly in front of other people because they don't like that discomfort. And honestly, the best thing I can say is if that's something that you are afraid of is getting in front of other people, I've been there. I know what it's like. And, um, you know, if you were to tell me I would get up in front of people and speak, I wouldn't have believed you. I just was super shy. I was an introvert, and there was no way I was going to speak to people, let alone create a YouTube channel and reach out to the world. I had no intentions. I had no idea that that's what I would be doing. But the more we practice and the more we get out of our comfort zone, and the more willing the more willing we are to put ourselves out there, that's when we can learn and grow. Because honestly, fear keeps us stuck. It keeps us, um, like I said, paralyzed and not willing to move forward. And it really keeps, another word to describe it when we have fear is hesitant. And we are inactive. We are not taking the actions that we really could take. Um, and that's another thing I said. A lot of people fear public speaking. They fear that over death. Well, speaking of death, I used to be scared to die. In my 20s and 30s, as a mom, I had all these kids, and that was one of my biggest fears. Like, I don't want to die. And I couldn't even fathom. I just was like, that just, whenever I thought of death, anxiety would come up in me, and I was not okay. And when I got past that, I just realized fear consumes our thoughts. It keeps us not moving forward, and so it does us no good to have fears. And I finally literally had to just talk myself like, okay, death is a part of the process. We all are born onto this earth and we all die. Yes, some die young. Yes, some live a full life and they die in their older ages. We don't have control of that. We don't have control of that, but we do. We don't know when our time is up. And we do have control, though, over our mind and our heart and how we feel. And that is so important. So decide what it is that's going to rule your day, faith or fear. Are we going to let fear take over, or are we going to let faith take over? Because we have a choice every day of what we're going to do. And it takes a lot. Believe you me, there are some days I dealt with depression quite a bit. And I dealt with debilitating thoughts that kept me stuck. And there were days that I didn't want to get out of bed, and it was just hard. And just having that choice of getting out of bed, doing one little simple thing, get out of bed, get dressed. Those are things that we can do to move forward in faith. Live a God-led life. That was something that I wasn't fully doing. I was raised a Christian my whole life, but I can't tell you I lived a God-led life my whole life. And that's something that I think that all of us Christians try to get to at some point in time. You can only live off of your mom and dad for so long, right? But you have got to develop a foundation that's a relationship with God and Christ, with you yourself, rather than depending on somebody else. And this is a whole different topic, but I remember And this is, I think, revelation. Talking about revelation is amazing. God reveals things to us all the time as individuals. He reveals, and that's called personal revelation. I believe that we all get personal revelation. So I just remember having someone talk to me that they're like, they heard my stories and they're like, wow, like, gosh, I wish I had that kind of relationship. And I'm like, look, I'm not anybody special. Anybody can have a relationship with God. It just takes work and it takes time and it takes practice. And they're like, well, whatever God tells you to do, be sure to let me know so that I can be doing that stuff. And that's not how it works. We are individuals and we have different missions and messages to share with other people, unique to us, aside from our neighbor or other family members. It is so important that you are able to take the personal revelation that you get and move forward. And that is a fear that I had. That's another fear that I'm going to talk about. I had the fear of connecting with God. I was scared to connect with God and Christ because I was afraid of them asking me something to do that I wouldn't be able to do. I didn't have enough faith and confidence in myself. And little did I know that that's what they're there for. They give me the confidence, they give me the strength, and it's okay. It's okay. But fears don't serve us. And so that is something that I learned how to develop. I learned how to reach out and knock, ask, and I have received help so many times, and I am continually learning and developing a personal relationship with my Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. And you too can have that same experience. It's sweet. It's the best thing ever, because just because you have this connection, it doesn't mean you're not going to have to deal with pain and hardships in life. It's just when we have that connection, we have this unseen strength and power to draw from like none other in this world. And it is so important to be able to have that to go by. It's so important to have that foundation for us to move off of. So I like to describe fear as this: you're going on this road trip, and you're going up a winding road to the most desired destination that you've been looking forward to for several months. And you get going up into the mountains, and all of a sudden you come to a halt because there's this big boulder, and on the side of this boulder is a drop off of 300 feet. And on the other side of this huge, there's no way around the boulder, right? On this two-lane windy road, there is no way around this boulder. There's this drop off, and then to the other side, there's this huge wall of trees, towering trees, and there's just no way you're going to get around that in your car. Okay, that is kind of what fear does to us. It puts us at a complete halt, and it's like, whoa. And what we have to do at that point is get out, pack our stuff on our back, and find a way up and over that rock. Because, we all have fears, but they're there to teach us, and they are there as a tool for us to learn and grow. And honestly, we don't need to have the fears that we have all the time, because we have that power within us. God and Christ are in us, and we have everything we need within to face our fears and get past and keep moving on, to be that example to somebody else around us that might be stuck. So I want to hear your stories. What has kept you stuck? What has kept you stuck and not able to move forward? Maybe it's accepting a new job or moving to a new location. I honestly feel if we feel inside, within our mind and our hearts, it's always best to connect heart and mind when we get this impression, when we get this feeling. Are they both working together? Are our heart and mind coming together? Because if they are, then that is our intuition kicking in, and it's a good step for us to make forward. But a lot of times the natural man in us, we want to pull back. We want to be like, ooh, that's scary. ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I'll know anybody and I'll feel all alone. And all these things race through our minds. But honestly, just moving forward is key. So, what other fears might be keeping you back? Maybe it's I fear like taking care of my family. Maybe it's I fear, doing this because everybody else is over here doing this. And that's when our authentic self comes out and we step into our true authentic self and we live life not for us, but for God. And we live a God led life and not worry about everything else that's going on around us. The fear, this is really real for a lot of people, the fear of what anyone else, what everyone else around you thinks of you. That's a legit fear for a lot of people. And it just took for me, because I was there, it took me just learning how to truly love myself and step into my authentic self to where, you know, this is me, take it or leave it. I don't care. I'm not out to impress people around me, but I am living for God. I care about my relationship with Him, and I care about living a God led life versus what is everybody else doing. Also, there's another legit fear that everybody is feeling is the fear of missing out. You have to be a part of everything because you're afraid of missing out on things, and that right there creates a discomfort in you, and it makes you on edge all the time because you feel like you have to be a part of something or a group or what everybody else is doing around you. And this does not allow us time to set back and be at peace, have a little stillness, have a little calmness. Because honestly, learning to mindful breathe, learning to meditate, learning to connect with God, and just learning to do things in a quiet environment, being off, you know, in nature or whatever, quiet time is so important because we have so many distractions pulling us in this world. And that's how we can get our answers. If we're searching for help uh, from God, that's how we get our answers a lot of the times, is just in the quiet moments. It's hard to get answers when we're completely bombarded with entertainment, music, movies, kids chatter. Uh, it's okay to take that time for you to connect. And yeah, I think it's important to teach kids the importance of not letting fear drive them. Don't let you. Also, I just remember, I think I feared what God thought of me. So I did things I wasn't doing things out of just being obedient necessarily. I did it out of fear of not being good enough. So that's a real thing for a lot of people too. The fear of not showing up and being good enough for the world. And it's important to be able to move forward in confidence. And so that's my thing. Tell me what you have struggled with, what some of your fears are. What are some fears you have overcome? That big spider fear that I was terrified of spiders, and my husband and I lived in our first little house. Well, our second place that we lived in after we were married. We referred to it as the little shanty because literally it was a tiny, tiny little space, and literally you could see daylight coming through the cracks of the walls, and we lived in a deserty area where huge spiders, and when I say huge, I mean huge. When they had their legs spread out, it was like tarantulas. They were big, hairy wolf spiders, and just ginormous in the area that we lived. These wolf spiders were huge. And I was terrified of spiders. And I remember our first baby was 9 months old, and my husband left to go out of town to do a work job for 6 weeks straight. And so it was just me and this baby. And in one day, I sucked up 13 of these huge wolf spiders. They just were crawling everywhere. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I put my baby in the crib and I started sucking them up, and I felt them go up the hose. And I was just, like I was a basket case. And, and I went to go to bed that night, and I was laying my head on the pillow and I opened my eyes, and on my nightstand I saw two yellow big eyes the size of babies just looking at me, and I was just like I remember I just woke up, I just called my mom and I'm like, come get me, I can't stay here, this is awful. And I was just scared to death. Well, I'm not scared to death of spiders anymore. Like I used to I used to be scared to death of spiders that were just tiny little, right? Dealing with those big tarantula like size or spiders really made me reassess my fears. So again, a lot of what we fear in life is just ourselves getting in the way. How are you getting in your own way of moving forward? Think about it. Put it in the comments. What are you doing to get in your own way? And what is something you can do right now that's hard? That's it's not going to hurt you. But yeah, it's hard and it's going to get you out of your comfort zone and you're going to learn some new things along the way. It's hard, but are you willing to get out of that comfort zone? And are you willing to face your fears? I believe in you, and I know God believes in you. So, like and subscribe to this channel. And also, I'm going to put in that plug for my 12-week online course for Christian women. It starts April 1st and goes to June 17th. And we just take a journey on healing spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. I suffered for so long, and I have these tools that I have used. I did not go the medical route. I chose to go completely holistic, and I literally had a God-led journey in how to help heal from a lot of childhood trauma and things. And I'm not fully healed, but I have got the tools and I am learning along the way. And we are never done learning. I still screw up plenty, but I am so grateful for the tools that I have had the last going on 9 years that has blessed me so much to have a better life, a life where I can move forward in faith and confidence and love for myself and God and others. It is so important that those are all included in our journey if we want to have a happy, joyful life. So, God bless. Go ahead and click on the link in the comments below. And again, like and subscribe, share my channel. I am here to get my message out. God bless. See you next time. Bye.